Hi everyone, welcome to our new stream. We're in Christmas setting. I'm wearing my Christmas jumper. We'll just give everyone about 5 minutes to come gather in the chat, and after that we'll start the stream. Today we're going to be talking about accidental inventions, the medical edition, movie mistakes, and other interesting facts. We have as our animals of the week this week, we have two. We have eagles and seahorses, because we couldn't choose last time. So while we're waiting for everyone to join, hello, how are you? How have you been? It's nice to have you back. Hello Dominique, nice to have you back. I have your missed shots for you in a second with facts about British colonialism. I am at the other side. Hi, welcome back. Good to have you again. Hey, I'm a fan of the cat lady. Hello. And apple juice. Hello. We haven't had you before. Welcome. Kitty Cam 2 is here. Hi. It's good to have you back. And Living Legend as well. Hi. How have you all been? Are you as cold there as here? I have a hot water bottle. I have it stashed away here. It's Christmas themed as well. It's keeping me warm. Because I can't drink tea. Because I end up talking and then not drinking my tea. And then I have cold tea. Nobody likes cold tea. Also, quick fact. Did you know that tea used to come in bricks? Like they pressed it into a brick, and sometimes they would have like some ornate figures into it, and you'd shave off a sliver. And that would be your tea. Siderian Shadowbane says, I have a cat sleeping on my lap. Can recommend. Yes. Cats are always good, as you can see. As you can tell by my shirt. I have Christmas cats. And these Christmas cats like each other. Unlike my cat, who hates every other cat with a passion. Other humans as well, by the way. It's just us that he loves. Other humans, not so much. Doesn't like them. Might be something for Kitty Cam. You might have had nicer kitties on your camera than mine. Mine is evil, truly evil cat. It's also why I haven't set up a Christmas tree yet. Ooh, we'll be having a Christmas tree fact for I'm Trickster, especially for you. I know. I think Kitty Cam had a nest of kittens and showed that on stream. I think it was very cute. Rubbish cans. Hello. We haven't had you here either. Hello. Welcome. We're going to start the stream in 1 minute. Give everyone some time together, and after that we'll start the stream. And at the other side says, once I had a Christmas tree still standing in April. I'm guessing that was a plastic Christmas tree, because if it was a real Christmas tree, then all of the needles fall out, right? Used to be quite the fire hazard. They would put real candles in there, and then you would have a very dry Christmas tree and fire and people drinking wine, and that ended up not being the best combination. Also, did you know that the Christmas ornaments, like the balls in the Christmas tree, they're supposed to represent apples, like the apples for Adam and Eve. Kitty Cam says, yes, it's true. She did have kittens on her cameras. It seems very cute. I'm at the other side says, yes, it was a fake tree, which is better. But it still had all of the ornaments in there. Living Legend says, yes, we can't have a Christmas tree because of the evil cat. It's very true. And with that, I think we've given everyone 5 minutes. Everyone else will just join when they join, and we'll be here to start the show. So today we're going to have a big presentation, and I think, it's closed it. We can open it like this. Here we go. So, welcome everyone. My name is Renee, And today in our stream we are going to be talking about accidental inventions, movie mistakes, and other various facts. So first, we'll go on to our today contents. What we're going to be talking about today is first we'll start with our missed shots. So at the end of every stream, we do fact tennis, where you give me a subject and I see if my brain can come up with a fact or adjacent fact about the subject. If I can't give you a satisfactory fact, we put it in our missed shots. So that's what we will start with today. Then we'll go on to our animals of the week. This week we have seahorse and eagle because we couldn't choose. After that, we'll be talking about movie mistakes and medical inventions. After that, we'll do our story of the week. This week's story of the week, Saint Nicholas and how he slapped a heretic and spent the night in jail. Then we'll end with fact tennis and our wholesome fact. And that will be our stream for today. So while I'm doing the stream, I would love it if you would share any interesting facts you have or any questions you have about our facts or any comments that you'd like to share. After I've read a couple of facts or after I've shared a couple of facts, I'll go back to the chat and see what I missed and pick out a few comments to share with everyone. So without further ado, my name is Renee and I love learning and sharing new and interesting facts. And today we'll be starting with our missed shots. First, we'll be talking about rock and roll for the living legend last time. Then we're going to be going on to British colonialism. This is especially for Dominique, who asked about it last time. And then the third and last, we'll be talking about a Christmas tree adjacent fact for I Am Trickster. So first, rock and roll for living legend. Did you know that the term rock and roll originated by seafarers? It was originally used to describe the movement of the boat in the ocean. Later it was used in the early 20th century to describe spiritual fervor and the dancing that would bring. And later after that it was described to as a sexual innuendo. So rocking and rolling would not just be moving your bodies, but it would be moving your bodies together. So first, rocking and rolling was originally used by mariners in the early 1600s to describe the rocking, which is fore and aft, which is up and down, as you can see on the picture next to me. That is the fore and aft. And the rolling was the side to side. We have two instances of text that I was able to find. Examples include an 1821 reference to prevent the ship from rocking and rolling, and in 1835 a reference to a ship rocking and rolling on both beam ends. So first, rocking and rolling meant the motion of the ship, and then it was transferred onto the motion of people who were singing gospel music and in spiritual fervor. And that later changed into people rocking and rolling together in the bedroom, I guess. So the living legend, rock and roll, used to be about ships. That was your first missed shot for this week. With that, we'll go on to our second missed shots and then see what I've missed in the comments. British colonialism, especially for Dominique. So, you might have heard the term, an army runs on its stomach. And this is true. The British Empire, its colonialism, was kind of built on the fact that they didn't have a lot of instances of diarrhea. British colonizers were noticing that a lot of their soldiers were dying overseas. So the rulers sent some researchers to the Netherlands to study the great Herman Boerhaave, who lived in 1668 to 1738. And in his colleges, where he was preaching or where he was proselytizing about his theory, he was talking about the miasma theory. And the miasma theory states that disease was spread by bad smells. So, and this is at the end of our Dutch golden age. So we had done a lot of traveling up until this point. And the British listen to Boerhaave and they think, we need to do something about the way that we build our camps with our military. So they decided that they would make their camps bigger to create more distance between the latrines with human waste and the kitchens, because they used to be built next to each other. And according to miasma theory, the smell would make you sick. And we now know that this actually did work because they weren't spreading diseases from the latrines to the food. So they spread it out, reorganized how they built their camps, put the latrines on one end and the kitchen on the other end, and this reduced diseases significantly. And because you have a reduced number of sick soldiers, you now have a lower cost in colonizing, and this helped the British Empire conquer half the world. So, an army runs on its stomach, but if your army's stomach has the runs, they aren't running anywhere. That one was especially for Dominique. After that, we're going to go on to our last missed shot for I Am Trickster. This is it's not really a Christmas tree, but it is a Christmas log. Next to me, you can see Tio de Nadal. And Tio de Nadal is a character in Catalan mythology, and it relates to Christmas. It's a Christmas tradition where Tio, right up there, who is a hollow log, about 30 centimeters long, is placed in front of the fireplace. So, this feast begins with the Feast of the Immaculate Conception on December the 8th. And you're supposed to give Tio little things to eat every night. And you cover him with a blanket in case he gets cold. And you can see little Tio here now has 2 little legs underneath him. They didn't usually have this. This is kind of a more recent thing with the little legs. But this dates back quite a while, this tradition. So Tio now has little legs, and you have to give him something to snack every evening, and you have to cover him with a blanket. And the children need to take very good care of Tio, because at the end of Christmas, on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, that kind of depends, if you've been very nice to Tio, then he's going to give you presents. Now you might ask yourself, how does Tio give you presents? He's a hollow log. Well, you're supposed to put him in the fireplace, or just put him somewhere in the kitchen nowadays, because most people don't have a fireplace anymore. And then, obviously, you hit him with sticks and you tell him to poop out your presents now, please, while singing him special Tio de Nadal songs. So, after the kids have beaten poor Tio with sticks and sung him very nice songs, they're supposed to go to another room to pray. Nowadays, they don't make the kids pray anymore, but they do still send them to another room, which gives the parents a very good chance to now put little presents out and about in front of Tio. And then the children come in, and then they lift the blanket, and underneath the blanket are these small presents that have been defecated by Tio de Nadal. So, Tio de Nadal is a hollow log that Catalans sing to during Christmas and take very good care of for about a week, and then hit with sticks and make him poop out their presents. That one was for our very own I Am Trickster. With that, let's go back to the chat and see what I missed. Let's see. Dominique liked the fact for him, and Living Legend says, added facts about Christmas in Catalonia. Oh yes, they have a little man in the nativity space. He is called the cacaner, the shitter. And the idea is that poop is symbolic for a fruitful new year. Yeah, this is true. And usually they make this some kind of famous person. So you can have a caganer. They're little, tiny little statues. I think we have one here. Oh, no, that's a regular one. So you can have downstairs, I have a Mario caganer, which is just a little Mario figure who is pooping. And you put it with your nativity scene. And this is a thing. And, oh, sorry, Dominique, is a girl. Sorry, she liked it. And the caganer can also be David Beckham. I'm pretty sure they had Putin the last few years. And I think the Catalans also say, after dinners, they say, eat well, poop hard. So they kind of have a thing with poop anyway. The log poops out the presents. This is a thing. And who's to say that it's weirder than our traditions? Because in the Netherlands, we have something where we do schoentjes zetten, which is we put our shoe in front of the fireplace and then we sing a song. And in the morning, the St. Nicholas's helpers have put little presents and sweets in them. Which isn't that much weirder singing to a fireplace than hitting a log. Also, you have the Yule log in like the northern part of Europe, which is a big log that you burn for a very long time and then it keeps the house nice and warm. So logs and burning around Christmas have always kind of been a thing. I'm at the other side, likes that saying, nice. And Living Legend says, yes, usually they have caganers that they hate. Oh, I did not know that. In Barcelona, you can buy a lot of Real Madrid players and politicians who are against the Catalan independence. Wow, that is an extra interesting fact. I did not know that, Living Legend. Thank you very much for that. With that, please feel free to go on in the chat or add any comments you have. And we will go on to our next batch of facts. These are our animals of the week because we couldn't choose last time. We are doing 2 seahorse facts and 2 eagle facts. We're going to be talking about how seahorses change colour and seahorse stomachs. Exactly how do they work? Then we'll be talking about eagles that you see on screen and eagle hunters. Up there in the corner you can see a little teeny tiny little seahorse, and I think he's about a few millimeters big, and that is him camouflaged. They're right up there in the corner in orange. That little S shape is actually a seahorse. So first, seahorse and color change. They kind of do this for 2 reasons. One is for camouflage, as you can see with our tiny little dude up in the corner. And the other one is to communicate. So like chameleons, they change colors to communicate, but unlike chameleons, they also change colors to match their backgrounds, which is more like squid or octopuses do. And down there in the corner, you can see one seahorse in all of its color variations. And they use it to communicate during mating rituals, and they will signal their interest in their mate by brightening their colours or changing their colours. They will also do this to let another male seahorse know that this is their territory and to stay away. So, seahorses, they change colours to camouflage and to communicate. Also, tiny little extra seahorse fact. Did you know that you have an area in your brain called the hippocampus? And it's called the hippocampus because it looks like a seahorse. Hippa, as in Latin for horse. Just a tiny extra fact. And then, seahorse stomachs. You might be surprised to hear that seahorses don't have teeth. But further than that, not only do seahorses not have teeth, they also do not have a stomach. So they might look like they have a little beer belly on them, but they actually don't have any stomachs at all. Instead, they digest their food kind of directly through a kind of long intestinal batch. And the food actually starts digesting as soon as it hits the mouth and digests all the way through that digestive tract. On the side, you can see two tiny pictures of crustaceans, and these are the tiny little critters that they eat and they suck up through their snout. Next to me, you can see one picture that's slightly more detailed, and next to it, a simple picture, which kind of shows that it just goes in, down the neck, through a bunch of intestines, and back out again. The food just starts to disintegrate from the time that it touches the mouth, and then goes on through. With that, we will first read our comments, and then go on to our first fact about eagles. Oh, Mendozak. Hi. We haven't had you before, so welcome. Hi, I want to offer a promotion for my channel. Okay, that's very interesting. We'll get back to that later. And the Living Legend says, the only thing I can add about seahorses, I saw a documentary that shows that you can saddle them and ride them around. It is called Aquaman. Yes, as much as that is very much a documentary, seahorses are teeny tiny little things. So, unless Aquaman is minuscule. And also, did you know that the seahorses are the slowest swimming fish there are? And that is because the only thing that propels them is that tiny little dorsal fin on their back. So, they don't go that fast. Sometimes they get exhausted when there's too much, when the water is too rough for them and they're going from one little branch of coral to the next. And sometimes they just don't make it because they have to pump that little fin so hard and then they hardly move at all. But they're also kind of romantic because they mate for life. It's kind of sweet. So, no teeth, no stomach, but a girlfriend for life. With that, we will go on to our next fact about eagles. So, did you know that every time you have seen a bald eagle, which is that American eagle on screen, you've heard like this very impressive, heart-stopping scream? Did you know that that scream that you hear, actually not a bald eagle at all? It is in fact a red-tailed hawk. This occurs for kind of two reasons. One, producers are kind of lazy. People associate that heart-stopping scream with bald eagles, so they just go, oh, we'll just keep on showing that. And also, it's because red-tailed hawks have a way cooler sound than bald eagles. Bald eagles look majestic, sound a bit like squeaky toys more than anything else. And also, it's just a way more impressive sound for such a cool looking bird. Also, did you know that if you've seen a bald eagle on TV, the chances are that it's almost always going to be a female, because the females are up to 20% bigger than the males. This is the same for a lot of raptors, which are birds of prey. The female will almost always be bigger than the male. So, if you see a bald or an American bald eagle on TV, you're probably hearing a red-tailed hawk and seeing a lady. With that, I hope that we can show you or let you listen to the sound that a red-tailed hawk makes versus an eagle. Let's see if this picks it up. That is a red-tailed hawk. This is an eagle. A lot less impressive, is it? So, have you ever heard that screech on TV and seen a bald eagle? I think they do it in the Colbert Report as well, which used to be on Comedy Central, I think. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of those US politician ads, they have an eagle and a screech, and then they don't do the weird squeaky noise, because that wouldn't sound as cool, would it? Living Legend says, the biggest difference I know is the difference in size between a male and female white-tailed eagle. The female can be about as big as 1.5 males. That is pretty cool. That's quite a big size difference. I did not know that. Thank you for that fact. With that, we'll go on to our next eagle fact and our last eagle fact. So, have you heard of the eagle hunters of Mongolia? So, eagle hunting is an ancient practice that started in Central Asia about 2500 BC. So this has been around for a while, but is still being practiced to this day. It is a rare occurrence, so the numbers are going down of the people who traditionally do this. Traditionally, there were only males, but now I think they have, by the last count that I read, about 20 females who are doing this. So 20 women are doing this kind of hunting, which is pretty cool. So the hunter has to capture his own eagle when the bird is young, and he usually does this by scaling the cliffs and kind of stealing the young from its nest. And as you can see there in the top picture, that is a cliffside with a nest on it, and that is how sheer that drop usually is. So this is quite an undertaking for the hunter to get this young. One, because that is quite a climb and it is pretty high. Two, because the parents are very defensive and will attack. So that sounds like quite the trial for me. So when the hunter gets his young, he then trains the eagle to hunt from a young age. And the hunter is said to sing to it and talk to the bird often. And the hunter is the only person who is allowed to feed the bird. So they form a very strong bond. And usually the bird stays with the hunters for around 10 years. And after that is released back into the wild. And next to me, you can see a picture of one of those Mongolian eagle hunters with the eagle on its arm. And I'm pretty sure this is a golden eagle that they're using there. And they are huge golden eagles. As you can tell, I think their wingspan is like 175 centimeters, which is pretty large wingspan. And as you can see, they also they put the caps on them, like they do with falconry as well. So what do you think? Would you scale a cliff to pluck an eagle out of its nest? I don't think so, even if it looks pretty cool. Also, poor parents, they must be stressed with that poor chick being plucked from their nest. And I don't know if golden eagles are endangered, but that sounds like a dangerous thing to do, right? Wingspan of a golden eagle can be up to 2.3 meters. That is way bigger than the numbers I found. I did not know that. They're huge. That's as big as we have eagles here in the Netherlands that are also pretty big. In Dutch you call it een zeearend, which is not an osprey. An osprey is a sea eagle. I'm not entirely sure what you would call a zeearend in English. Chat, please help out. They have a wingspan of 2 meters and they have flown over my house. Pretty cool. Also, they go on the garden list of birds. Zeearend is a white-tailed eagle. Oh, cool. Thank you very much, Living Legend. With that, we are going to go on to our next batch of facts. First, we're going to be talking about movie mistakes. We're going to be talking about biometrics in movies and what they get wrong. Then computer hacking. Why is it never the way it actually is in real life? And then gun silencers. What do movies do and how do they work? First, biometrics. So, sometimes you'll be watching a movie and you'll see a scene where the protagonist has to break into somewhere. And they have to get in with biometrics, so scanning retinas or fingers or whole handprints sometimes. And they will cut off a finger or poke out an eye and use that to scan in. But this actually wouldn't work in real life. And this has two main reasons. Biometric technology only recognizes living tissue, so when it's dead, it doesn't recognize it. And this is because the shape of the dead finger or dead eye kind of isn't the same as its living counterparts. Eyes go slightly floppy if you take them out of your head, and fingers kind of go hard and taut with rigor mortis. And underneath the finger scanner, you can see a still from a movie. This is the 1993 action movie Demolition Man. And in a especially gruesome scene, you have Wesley Snipes' character, who is called Simon Phoenix, and he removes a prison guard's eyeball to escape his prison. And he smushes it on a tool and scans the retina and escapes the prison. Now, in the real world, this would not work because, first of all, today's scanners use iris recognition, not just retinal scanning. So they look at the iris itself, and they're equipped to detect if it is alive. And a human eye has a pupil which will dilate or contract with light, and a computer would pick up on the fact that that eyeball is not moving and is therefore not a real eyeball. So Wesley Snipes' character, Simon Phoenix, might have gotten away in the movies, but in real life he would have had an extra murder charge and already have been stuck in prison. So that was our fact about biometrics. And then on, also kind of icky, and then on to hacking. In films, you will usually see a hacker behind one laptop furiously writing code for about 2 minutes and then hack into the mainframe and steal all of the government secrets or something like that. But in the real world, hackers usually don't write code, but they create phishing websites that attack a whole bunch of people by, for instance, sending out fake emails to email accounts. And when they've sent this out, it doesn't take minutes, it takes days and days of waiting. So why don't movies show realistic hacking? Kind of two main reasons. One, the United States made a law in 1983 prohibiting realistic hacking in movies because they didn't want to give people the wrong kind of ideas. And it was in a reaction to a movie called War Games. And in War Games, they showed a hacker infiltrating the US government. And that is a frame from a frame with a superimposed picture of the main character right there. That is from the movie War Games. And two, directors think that real hacking, sending out an email with the link in it that you have to click and then waiting for days, would not make that good of a movie. It seems kind of tedious and boring. Then somebody furiously typing at a computer is more action-packed. So, computer hacking usually doesn't involve code, but takes days and days and lots of emails. Let's see. I'm at the other side, says the USA and their laws. Yes, ruining it for everyone. I mean, who wouldn't want to see a montage of somebody sending out a whole bunch of emails and then waiting for days? That seems thrilling. Also, I guess most people nowadays are kind of good at recognizing phishing emails, but not everyone is. I think that phishing emails, they do this, the hackers, because it works, right? People get an email with a link and they're kind of inclined to click on it because you're kind of inclined to trust whoever is sending you something. So I can imagine, I know we've had like seminars at work for spam emails. Do not click on any links that you don't know are good links. So I kind of get that. And then with that, we will go on to our last fact about movie facts that they got wrong. This one is about silencers. So if you have the movie John Wick is avenging the death of his dog, poor puppy called Daisy, and he does this with a gun with a silencer on it. And he's moving through a whole crowd of people, and the only thing you hear is a faint popping noise. And this allows him to get away, kind of scot-free. But in real life, the function of a silencer, or a suppressor is a more correct term for it, is actually just to reduce the chance of inner ear damage to the gun's user. So it kind of lowers the decibels from around 160, was the research that I found, to around 120. This is of course dependent on the gun you use and like the space you are in. But in this study, it went from 160 to 120, and 120 is still pretty loud. That's louder than a whole room of people talking quite loudly. So even with a suppressor on it, you would still hear shots quite clearly. But for plot reasons, the directors choose to put a silencer on and then may have it only make a faint popping noise, because that way John Wick can kind of kill all of the baddies who killed his poor puppy. And who can fault them for that? Up in the top you can see a picture of a suppressor, and what it actually does is it cools the gas down. So after an explosion, gas forms, and that gas is hot. And because it's hot, that helps it to make more sound. And what you want to do is cool that gas down as fast as you can. So while the bullet goes, I have to do it in the direction that it says there. While the bullet goes through, it goes through little chambers where the gas can curl back on itself and cool down like that. And that is how a suppressor makes a gun less loud. With that was our very last movie mistake fact. We'll go onto the chat and then onto our next batch of facts. First, Jeroen says, in computer games, the silencer is used in the same way as in the movies. Yes, true. Living Legend says, Hitman is a good example of this. Yes, I think for video games and for movies, it's the same reason. It's because you want your character to be able to realistically kill people without getting caught. So it helps plot in a movie and in game. That's what I think. Have any of you ever shot any guns? I've shot like an air rifle before, which is like a very light rifle. It doesn't have bullets, but tiny little pellets, and I shot them at like targets, and that already has quite some recoil. What the silencer actually can do in the gun is it helps against the recoil, because it puts more weight on the front of the gun, and that makes it harder for the gun to kick back as much. So the silencer actually would be a good idea for a hitman if you're shooting a whole bunch of people, not only just for the sound, but for the fact that the recoil isn't as much, so it would be easier for you to focus back on somebody if you don't have to push the gun back down that far again. Extra fact. I'm at the other side says, yes, I've had some guns in my hand. I've never had an actual gun. Also, I'd like to shoot one at a shooting range. That seems like fun. But also, I don't really want to have a black eye. Dominique says, I've shot a gun at my local Schützenverein. Oh, which is a vereniging, which would be a club, a shooting range kind of club. I've never, but I don't know if do they let underage people shoot guns in the Netherlands or in Germany? I don't know. Probably with a parent there. I'm guessing you're okay with a parent. Jeroen says, does it also improve the aim? Yes, it does improve the aim, the silencer, because, but especially on like if you have like second, third, fourth shots, it makes it easier if you do a row of targets. On the first target, not so much, but on the others it kind of should, because it has less recoil. Dominique says, it's not technically allowed. Yes, so also technically, wait until you're 18, technically. I'm at the other side, says, in the army probably with underage, but not sure how it is now. Not entirely sure either. I'm not sure when you can go into the army in the Netherlands. I'm guessing you have to be 18, but I don't really know that. We shall find out for next stream. Maybe next stream we'll do army, military facts. Sounds fun. I think with that, we will go on to our next batch of facts, which are accidental inventions, the medical edition. So, we're going to be talking about how shark skin can save hospitals from superbugs, X-rays and how that pertains to cancer, and exactly what does mustard gas have to do with chemotherapy. We shall find out. First, we will start with our shark skin versus superbugs. So, did you know that sharks actually have antimicrobial skin? And this is because of what they have on their skin. And these are denticles or tiny little teeth on their skin. And you can see a picture of it down in the corner. These are these tiny little overlapping teeth, which makes their skin rough. So shark skin has teeth in the fight against hospital superbugs. And this is because microbes have a very hard time attaching to these denticles. And they have now made kind of a artificial version of it. And that's the one you can see up there in the corner. So the transmission of bacterial infections, this is including MRSA and MSSA, could be curbed by coating hospital surfaces with this new substance that they've made, with these microscopic bumps that mimic the scaly surface of shark skin. This is according to new research. This micro pattern that they made up in the top corner is named Sharklet by the researchers, and it has an arrangement of ridges that resembles shark's skin. In the study, when they sprayed Sharklet over a surface area, it showed that Sharklet harbored 94% less MSRA bacteria than a smooth surface. And it also fared better than copper. Copper is an antibacterial, has antibacterial activities to it because the copper poisons the microbes and the viruses. But what this does is it doesn't poison the microbes as much as it just doesn't let them attach. And because the microbes are less able to attach, this might help in hospitals, and they might spray this over the surfaces that patients touch the most to help in the fight against superbugs. So shark skin might help hospitals in the fight against superbugs because tiny little microbes can't attach to their denticle skin. With that, we will go on to our next accidental discovery and then go back to the chat, see what I missed. First, we're going to be talking about radiology versus cancer. So, an academic radiologist was looking at a contrast fluid that they had put in a test patients, and he was looking at the way this fluid moved around the abdominal cavity. And what he said was, "Oh my God, it moves." So he discovered that the fluid that was in the abdominal cavity itself actually moved around with a predictable pattern. And they could see this because of the contrast material. And this predictable pattern is because of gravity, but also because of pressures that the anatomy inside of the body cavity puts on it. So the fluid around in this abdominal cavity follows this predictable pattern. Now, this radiologist was very alert and thought, "Oh my God, what if we can look at this pattern and take a lot of data and see if it's the same for everyone, and then this could help us with cancer patients?" Because it helps you to understand how cancer metastasizes in remote sites. So what happens with cancer is the cancer sheds cancer cells into bodily fluid, and this bodily fluid comes into the abdomen and then settles in secondary sites. And because we now know that this is a predictable pattern, the way that the liquid moves, we also can predict where the liquid will pool. So where secondary sites are most likely to start for cancer. And these cancers will, with these cells will adhere to these sites if the liquid pools there long enough, and then start secondary sites for the cancer to spread. This has now led to new studies and new research, and as a result of this radiologist looking at this fluid in the body and thinking, oh my god, it moves in a predictable pattern, we now have a way to predict where cancer will metastasize, and is now the basis for detection of secondary sites and also in cancer management. And this has saved lives. So, what do you think about our accidental discoveries? Because this radiologist was just looking at kind of how the abdominal cavity works, but you have to have the presence of mind to then think, oh, this has implications for the rest, not just seeing it, but then also seeing what the implications are. And I think that is the true genius here. Welsh Nuke says penicillin was an accidental discovery as well. Yes, same thing. So it was an accidental discovery, but then when they discovered it, they had to have the presence of mind to then think, this is going to be useful in the future. And I think that is super cool. Do you have any accidental discoveries that you know of? Please share in the chat while I go on to our last one. And after that, we're going to go on to a story of the week. But first, our last accidental invention. This is the way we're going to be talking about mustard gas and how mustard gas led to chemotherapy. So, did you know that mustard gas was actually the first kind of chemotherapy that we gave people? Medical researchers noticed that mustard gas destroyed lymphatic tissue and bone marrow after it was widely used during the First World War. They thought that it might also kill cancer cells in the lymph nodes. So they started experimenting. They started experimenting on mice, and this showed that topically applying nitrogen mustard, which comes from from mustard gas, caused the tumours to actually shrink. And up there in the corner, you can see Lewis S. Goodman, who was one of the leading researchers in this research. So he is one of the people who started chemotherapy. And the first patient that they did this on was a 48-year-old man who was in the terminal stages of lymphosarcoma, so tumors in your spinal cord. I'm pretty sure that's the lymphosarcoma. And radiation treatment had no effect on him anymore. So he had run out of treatment options, so they thought, well, then we'll try this new chemotherapy. He was giving 10 doses of nitrogen mustard at the dosage that is now 2.5 times what we give people, because we didn't know how much to give him. But within 2 days, doctors noticed that the tumours were softer, and by the end of the treatment, they had disappeared. So, mustard gas in the trenches led to horrific deaths, and very many of them, but they also led to chemotherapy, which has saved a lot of lives. With that, we'll go back to the chat and then go on to our next batch of facts. Let's see if you have any accidental inventions for us to share. Jeroen says, a lot of them, of inventions are accidental. Sticky tape, for instance. I don't know the story about sticky tape, but I do know the story about post-it notes. Did you know that? The person who invented post-it notes was actually tasked with making a very strong adhesive glue, and they messed up and they made a glue that was not a very strong adhesive at all, but you could peel it off and then kind of stick it back onto something. And that was later used in sticky notes as the little sticky stuff in between the notes. Accidental. Sedarian Shadowmane says, in the book Happy Accidents, Morton Myers states that most medical breakthroughs are a consequence of serendipity. True. Examples are X-rays, penicillin, Valium and Viagra. Yes. So, did you know that Viagra is actually heart medication, and it was intended as heart medication, and people noticed that as a side effect, it gave you a boner as a side effect, but it wasn't made for that. And it wasn't. I don't know if it was the best kind of heart medication, but it was very good at the other thing. So it ended up being marketed as the reason that Viagra is marketed for now. So Viagra it was made as a heart medication, ended up as something very different. With that, we are going to go on to our story of the week. And after our story of the week, we're going to do fact tennis. So what we do in fact tennis is the following. I'm going to quickly skip through here and do this. What we're going to do is you're going to serve, so you give me any subject in the chat, and then I try to return with an interesting fact about that subject or adjacent to that subject. If I miss any shots, if I can't give you any facts, then I'm very sorry, and I will come back to them next stream with our missed shots. So please, while we're doing our story of the week, share any subjects you have in the chat, and we'll see if I can do fact tennis with you after this. First, we're going to go into our story of the week. This week, we're going to be talking about Saint Nicholas, which for the Dutch people here is Sinterklaas. And we're going to be talking about how Saint Nicholas slapped a heretic in front of the emperor. So, Saint Nicholas was born in 270 AD in the city of Patara, which was in Asia Minor, modern day Turkey. So in the Netherlands, we say that Sinterklaas comes from Spain, but that's not true. Saint Nicholas actually comes from Turkey. So in 325 AD, the Emperor Constantine had convened the Council of Nicaea. And the Council of Nicaea was a council of bishops and high-ranking holy people within the church. And the nature of this council was due to debate the nature of the Holy Trinity. This was a very big thing. You kind of had two schools of thought on the Holy Trinity. One was that you had the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and all three of them were one, and therefore equal to each other, because they were one. And the other school of thought was that Jesus was the Son of God and therefore lesser than him. And this was a big debate, you all. I don't know why, but this was a huge thing. Is the Trinity actually one, or is there like a ranking of importance in them? Whole big debate. Now, you had Arius from Egypt, and he was a big proponent of Jesus is the Son of God and therefore a less than God himself. And our good old Saint Nick was not of this opinion. And it is said that they were at this convention and Arius was arguing his point forcefully, and the rest of the bishops were listening respectfully. But as Arius was doing this more vigorously and more vigorously, Nicholas became more and more agitated. Finally, he could bear it no longer, and he essentially jumped up, and it is said that he slapped Arius across the face. Now, this was not an occurrence that was deemed okay. So, seeing as he was a high person in the church, but he had also slapped a high person in the church, so he was thrown into jail. But he had a good thing on his side, which is that the Pope kind of agreed with Saint Nick. So the Pope made him sit in jail for one whole day. And it is said that the next day the jailer opened up the jail cell and there was Saint Nick reading from the Holy Scriptures. And he said that the Mother Mary had come to him in a vision and asked him, Saint Nicholas, why are you here in prison? And he had said, because I adore and worship thee so much. And the Pope took this as being a very holy and spiritual sign and let him out of prison. Also just because he agreed with him and didn't really like Arius from Egypt that much. After this, the Council of Nicaea made the Nicene Creed, which kind of says, I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit as one. And this is something that Christians still repeat every week. So, Saint Nicholas. He is now seen as a sweet old man who gives little kids presents after they sing for him, but he is actually a rascal who slapped another bishop in the face because they disagreed about the Holy Trinity. So with that, we're going to go on to our fact tennis. Let's see what you have for me in the chat. And also, what do you think about Saint Nick slapping the heretic of Egypt? And with that, we'll see what we have. Fact tennis about fashion or clothing. Sure. Let me think. Have to take a second for that. Did you know that? Did you know that ostriches were kind of on the brink of extinction because of the fashion in Versailles to wear ostrich feathers in your hair? So you would have these huge elaborate hair updos, and it was fashion to have an ostrich feather in there. And this led the birds to be hunted almost to extinction just for their plumes. Also, did you know that it used to be fashion for ladies in the Victorian era to wear a live lizard on their dress as a brooch? And they would do this by putting the lizard on ice and just making it real cold, and then it wouldn't move for a couple of hours and you just kind of plonk it on your dress. So, did you know that Victorians used to have live lizards as brooches, and they would have whole bird wings in their hats? Also, did you know that they banned ladies from wearing hat pins that were longer than 8 inches because during the suffragette movement, when women wanted to vote, they would take out their hairpins and stab at the police officers with them? I have a lot of fashion facts. Took me a second to get one, but I did have some. Also, Sidarian Sadomain says, a fact about cooking. Sure. Did you know that the very first soup that we have found was along the Nile, and they were the leftovers of hippopotamus soup, which is the oldest food that we have found. Also, did you know that the only food that does not go bad is honey? We still have honey stored from Egyptian times, and it is still edible and it is still good. A fact tennis about the Dolomites. Nope, I do not have a fact tennis about the Dolomites, but I will get one for you. I am at the other side for next week. That is going into our missed shots. A fact about the Dolomites. Then Rubbish Can says, fact tennis about Glavaboken. Gulva goat? I don't have a specific fact about that goat, but did you know that you have tree climbing goats in Africa who will literally climb up a tree? And did you know that the reason that mountain goats can climb up those really steep ridges is because they have a hard outer hoof, but they have a soft inner hoof, like the palm of your hand. That's on the inside of their hooves, and that's what they use to kind of grip onto the walls. But I will find you a fact about actual Gavelbokken rubbish cans, because I do not know a fact about them. Just a fact about goats in general. Apple juice again. Fact tennis about the Russo-Japanese War. I do not know a fact about that, so we'll put that in missed chats next week. But did you know that the ninjas were actually the guerrilla warriors against the samurai, who were kind of the knights? That like the Europeans would have knights, and then in Japan they would have the samurai, and the ninjas were the guerrilla warfare farmers who would gather their arms against them. Dominique says, fact this about plate tectonics. Let me have a think about that. Not really sure. Plate tectonics is the reason that Australia has all of the Australia and New Zealand have all of the weird wildlife that they have. It's because of plate tectonics that those that group of islands separated from the rest of all of the other countries for so long, and that's why they have that unique species. And they used to have a marsupial, which was the main hunter, and it kind of looks a bit like a Tasmanian devil, but it actually was a marsupial, like a rodent, and it had very big front teeth, like a beaver, and very small canines, like other carnivores do. This one evolved differently with those. That's a plate tectonic fact, I guess. Rubbish can is helping me, thank you. The Galva goat is a big helm goat that's built before Christmas in the Swedish city of Galva. It is usually burnt down. Oh, it's a big straw goat. I did not know that. Jeroen says marsupilami? Marsupials. I think that's from like a comic book, right? It's a Dutch or a Belgian comic book, I think. Living Legend says, interesting Christmas tradition. Do you know where the goat tradition stems from? Yes, I would love to know that, because I do not know. Do I have any Swedish facts? I have to think about that one for a second. I must have Swedish facts stored somewhere in my brain. Not entirely sure. Can't remember now. But if I don't find you a Swedish fact now, we will put it on for our missed chats next time, and we'll add a fact about Sweden. I must have a Swedish fact in there somewhere in the back of my brain, but I can't access it right now. So thank you all for your fact, Tennis. And Rubbish Can says, yes, it is a big goat of the Swedish tradition, Yule goat, and it's very much illegal to burn it down. But it still gets burned down every year, I'm guessing. Yes, because we're people. We like setting things on fire. I'm not sure. I think it's something very primal in us that we like setting a very big thing on fire, definitely in the winter. In the winter, we crave big fires. That's why you used to have the Yule log. And then that thing would burn for like a week. That's how big it was. But no, I have not heard about that. But that's such a cool tradition to do next time. I think with that, we're going to go on to our wholesome fact. And after that, we're going to end the stream. And after ending the stream, we will see if I can raid another streamer. And then prepare for our next stream next week on Sunday at 8. With that, we'll go on to our wholesome fact and then end the stream. So this week's wholesome fact. Did you know that bats sing love songs to each other? So, humans aren't the only creatures who sing to our sweethearts. There are lots of animals who do the same thing. In 2009, a study in Texas found that the Brazilian free-tailed bats have distinguishable syllables and phrases that they use as love songs to attract their suitors. So, and I quote, "The sounds are made in a specific arranged pattern to form a song, and there are actually organized sequences within each phrase. They are made to attract and lure nearby females." So, our very cute bats sing love songs. Oh, and with that, next Sunday is Christmas. Maybe another day of the week. That's very good. And also, we forgot to do something else because we still need to choose our next animal of the week. So, I am going to put in a poll. So, it should be up now. So, at the top of other side, at the top of the chat, you can see next animal of the week, and if you click on the arrow down, you can see our options. We can have birds, butterflies, or bats. We have 4 or 5 votes for bats and 2 for butterflies. And butterflies are going even with bats. So for next week, we shall either have butterflies or bats. But seeing that it is Christmas next week, I think we will push our stream onto the Monday. So I think we will have another stream on Monday at 8. So after Christmas, have a lovely Christmas time with all of your family and find us loads and loads of facts to share next week. And I think bats is in the lead, but it's 4-5. Butterflies and bats are kind of head to head. I'm Trickster says, how about Batman? Sure, if bats win, I'll give you a Batman fact, especially for I'm Trickster. I think like the Batman story is messed up because according to the comics, Batman is scared of bats. Like he's deathly afraid of bats, and that's why he chooses bats, because they find it horrendously. He finds it super scary. Oh, Monday is Christmas Day? Oh, I'll have to do Tuesday then. Let me see. I did not look at my planning properly before we did this. Yes, you are right. Yes, Monday is the second Christmas day. So you have Christmas, first day of Christmas on Sunday, and then the second day of Christmas on Monday. So how about we do Tuesday at 8? Next stream on Tuesday at 8. Because I definitely need to eat all of my Christmas food and wear my Christmas jumper. I've got another Christmas jumper that has lights on it and bells. But I didn't want to make too much noise during the stream because it like wrinkles when I move. And I sewed little lights into it, and I have to have a battery pack in my back pocket. So it seemed less practical than just my cat jumper. Yes, okay. Tuesday. So our next stream will be on Tuesday at 8. We'll go on to full screen, very big. So thank you all for joining. Join us again next Tuesday at 8. Have a wonderful Christmas. Have a lovely time. Eat a lot. And then we'll be talking about bats, because bats have now been chosen as our next animal of the week. After this, we will go on to raid a different channel. And if I don't see you there, then thank you very much for joining. And remember, everything is interesting if you look at it closely enough. And with that, we shall try to raid a different channel. Let's see, we will go Dr. and PhD. Look at little crustaceans. So bye for now, see you there. So for everyone who's still in the chat, thank you very much for joining. We will see you next week on Tuesday at 8. Bye. See you there.